chat. So we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Just needs to catch up here, and once I see it's good, I will
Mm-hmm.
start.
And how does my camera look, the second one?
For thousands of years, elders and knowledge keepers have used stories to educate future generations. Stories and words can help heal our hearts and make Mother Earth a better place for all people. This is Healing Hearts.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Well, it is definitely sad when you see something come to an end, and this is the final episode for Healing Hearts. But we promise that we will leave it on a positive note, and we will continue some incredible conversations. This show was started to gather Indigenous and newcomer communities together, and I think we have very successfully done that for over 27 shows. So let's open the doors and invite our wonderful guests, but not after this message from our special sponsor.
So the Hive is a climbing and fitness facility, so we're bouldering only, which means no ropes or harnesses. We use mats for protection. The 4 pillars of our business are climbing, education, health and wellness, and community, and those aspects all kind of come together to create like a 5-star climbing experience.
Welcome to Healing Hearts. This is the final episode, but I am sure that we are going to end off in a very positive note, and it's so good to see all of these faces again. First and foremost, thank you and welcome to Clayton, our knowledge keeper, and to Hani, who is also a co-creator of Healing Hearts. I really appreciate the both of you in, should I say, the courage or at least the gumption to go and do a show like this, because it has brought together so many people. I was looking at the long list, and it's, over 100 people. So in our short time, I think we have created, maybe it's a small wave, but let's hope the wave continues. And we have some special guests. I've got Perla, I've got Art, and Jeannie. Thank you, all of you, for joining. You all brought, I think, as we go back down memory lane, something really special. And I know that the communities, not only Indigenous and newcomers, but all communities really learned something from all of your stories. So I am actually going to start with Art, Dr. Art Mickey. It sounds so formal, but that takes us, you were, I think, on our second show. And just going over the Japanese history, not only in our province, but across Canada, and then making the reference and finding the similarities between cultures, especially Indigenous culture, I think was really the game changer in that show. But let's hear your thoughts, Art.
I agree with you, Tracy. It's been a great experience, and I really appreciate working with Clayton on one of the projects that we did, which is sharing circles, which included the Asian community as well as the Indigenous community, and Perla was part of that group as well.
Yes.
And I think we learned a lot from each other, especially when it comes to Japanese and Indigenous, where our experiences, they don't parallel, but there are a number of similarities that occurred, not only to our community, but to the Indigenous community, the incarceration, the violation of their culture in terms of losing it, and language and so on. And so that type of experience, when we got together, was appreciated, because I think each side learned from each other. And that's one of the things that I found so enlightening was sharing circles is that there are more similarities than differences. And that we realize that our experiences aren't that different, especially hearing from the indigenous community about not only residential school, but the 60s coup that took place. All of those things are so important for us to know. And so I have to say that yesterday Clayton and I were attending a session that many of the people from the Turtle Island Project were there. And they came up and said, you know, we really enjoyed that meeting we had at the Cultural Center. And you were there too, Tracy, as well. And they really appreciated that get together, the camaraderie that was established, the friendships that were established, and certainly the dialogue that we had. And so that's been one of the highlights of this year for myself and for members of our community as well. So I'd like to just leave on that note. I should mention one other thing, because the Japanese culture and the indigenous cultures are very much similar. In fact, we were thinking of collaborating to do a children's book on that, because you know we have the taiko drums, we have the Indian, the Aboriginal drummers, very similar in the purpose behind it as well. You know, we also talk about names, for example. In the Japanese community, people's names are in a lot of ways related to nature. Like Miki means 3 trees. And if you go through people's last names, they're always associated with some part of nature. And so there's that similarity as well. And also we are very close in the community when we talk about where they came from. Such as in the case of the indigenous communities, you have a close-knit group of people, each of the different tribes, for example, indigenous groups are very close. And that's similar with the Japanese, where people came from originally. And they have groups that meet today, called Hiroshima Ken, for example. Anyone who came from Hiroshima, they get together annually. So there is that closeness that they develop. So just wanted to bring some of those things to you. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Art. And that's the beauty of it, is just being able to sit and listen to other people's stories and lived experiences. Jeannie, too, you were at the sharing circle, but more importantly, being on Healing Hearts, and you were on the show that really brought to light the arts and what it really means. And art is a universal language that, you know, knows no barriers, whatever color, whatever ethnicity or culture you're from. There is beauty in art. And again, you're making murals, which is fantastic. But, you know, taking part in a conversation like this, what has that meant for you?
You know, it was really an honor to be asked to be part of a show like this, because it's important to bring these topics and what we're going through up on a higher public radar, and especially to do it with like-minded people, to do it also to engage with people with the lived experience. That kind of transcends like the conflicts that we see going on in the world today, and things that were leading up to the current situations. So, you know, and really it's going to extend into the place where we're going to have to heal, and we're doing the healing right here with my other co-guests. So we can role model, you know, for what's going to need to happen in the future with people who are in conflict right now. So I feel that it was an honor and it was a privilege. I learned I learned more about the the similarities with other people, with other, with the Japanese culture. I know that I'm learning a lot with even my co-collaborators with the Turtle Island project. I'm learning so much from about my own culture, even, because there are so many layers involved with healing. And if I learn more to heal myself, then I am better able to present and collaborate with people of other cultures. So
No, and your comment too, just for women, women of color, and especially indigenous women, role models, and pursuing a career like your own. I mean, this show actually showcased a lot of those women too.
it really did. And like I I get to work and I get to talk and connect on a really personal level with young Indigenous women. And I connect with them because I see that I was once in their place. And really I'm just one step away from where they're at, and I am one step away from where I am going to be. And I don't know where that's going to be, but I'm really looking forward to it. And by being able to connect on a really good level, on a real personal level with other women who are in my realm, it's really profound, and it's inspiring for me. And I know that they get excited to see what the possibilities. So,
And that's part of what we hope too, is conversations do spark opportunities. And Perla, you have been a guest on this show talking about education, sharing stories of family traditions. And that is so important. I've found through all of this common thread is family, right? Even if you have to come here and create a new family.
That's right. Coming here all by myself and still by myself, but I never feel alone because, I've made families from the friends that I've met here through the years. So I never feel alone. Yeah, family is the key for one's happiness and one's success. And I'm really grateful to be part of the show because you've created a safe space for people to have this conversation of important topics, where people can speak candidly and share their thoughts, and just being able to be themselves and share from their hearts what they feel about the different various topics that you have, and meeting a lot of other people coming from different communities and sharing the table, the circle of conversation. It's, for me, it's a very profound experience. And I wish you would continue this show because it provides a space for people to talk about things that normally, they shy away from, or they would just do it in their own little circle. And this way we're able to share it with, other people around, and you have a bigger audience. And I wish people can learn from us also, just by the experiences we have.
Oh, I know. And what I really enjoyed, and you've been on that show, when we've brought on the youth, and they have been so incredible. I learned so much from them and amazed, right? And like you said, they probably talk like this all the time in their own circle. But when they're given the opportunity to join a bigger circle, it really quiets everybody, and they are our future. So again, thank you so much, Perla, and the young people that you have brought on. They were amazing, just super amazing. All right, so now we're with our creators, Can I use that word? I use it affectionately. I use it as, an idea, but Clayton, knowledge keeper, a person of many ideas, this being one of 1,000 in your mind, what was it about Healing Hearts that you really wanted to see come to fruition?
Well, I was hoping that it was going to be live for one thing. I wasn't expecting COVID to kind of kick us on the screen and to and basically to have it sitting in front of a screen and whenever I'm engaged with people, I always like sitting across from them and just talking. And it's totally different because I think the spirits touch and emotions happen, and so that's what I was hoping to happen, and I'm still hoping that we can continue this, but this program did something for me personally. It brought my niece and I together, and I had this my younger sister passed away in 2003 from SARS in Vancouver, and my niece was I think she was maybe 10 years old then. And so she actually came to Winnipeg, and we buried my sister here in my community. And she came and stayed with me for a year. And then she decided to go back to Alberta with her older sister. And then she just disappeared. And I hadn't seen her for probably like maybe 14 years, maybe. Didn't hear nothing from her and all that. And then she actually saw the show in Alberta, and so she's married now, and I actually went up to see her a couple of times, and she's married just outside of Edmonton to a really nice man, and they have one child now, and she's doing really well. And she went through a really rough period after her mom passed away, and then finally got her life back together, and she's doing really well. But the show brought us together. And she said she was online, and also she's seen the show and tuned into it, and here it was her uncle. So she contacted me right after. I can't remember what show that was, but she contacted me right away. She said, I've been watching the show every week, she said, and she said her and her husband and her father-in-law have been tuning in all the time, and they've been learning a lot, of what's happening in Manitoba. So that's what the show did for me. But also too, it brought me together with a lot of other different people. Yesterday we had 21 facilitators come together and 140 newcomers, and we did 20 sharing circles and about five of the facilitators said to me at one of the breaks, they said, it doesn't take much for the newcomers to share their racism. They said we didn't have to coax them very much to share the racism that they experience, because they know already, and they said they know of our racism too. Some they don't know, like the depth of it and how long it's been going on, but they know it. So a lot of newcomers yesterday spoke about the racism that they have internalized also too. So I find that that internalization, creates trauma in people sometimes, and people don't know what to do sometimes. So I find that things like this, it gives people a place where they can talk openly. And one of the programs I really enjoyed is the one with the LGBTQ community. And Albert McLeod's a good friend of mine. So and I've known Albert for maybe 30 years now, but that show I really enjoyed. And again, it's nice that people, can, I guess they can say come out, I guess, but at least they can start talking about it, and start. Yeah, so things have changed and things are changing, but it's always nice just, to find people like all the guests here who we all have something in common. We all have, maybe except for Jeannie, but we have years of experience, and we all been on the same sort of journey together. And these things just come together. And I've always believed that people come together for a reason. I've always believed that. And maybe they stay a day or two, or maybe they stay 10 years together. But there's a reason for people coming together. And I just feel this is part of that show to make that journey to have people come together in open minds.
Oh, so Jeannie, that was a compliment to you. I guess you're the baby here on the show. Hey, Clayton. But that's a light note, and I'm going to get more serious now. What I liked about this show, it also gave us an opportunity to be current. When this whole residential schools story broke, some of the guests that we had on, the elders, that broke down, but made me cry. This was truly something I haven't experienced. Like, I mean, sure, people get emotional, but this, like you were saying, years and years and years of keeping it hidden, of keeping it inside, to see it being released. Unfortunately, during such a traumatic time, but the truth, like they say, always prevails, right?
Yeah.
No, it was really something. And so now, Hani, you come with not only did we have to kind of preface your story, because your journey is just as amazing as any other coming to our country, and why you chose Winnipeg, well, we're glad you chose Winnipeg out of all of the other places in Canada. But no, we're happy, so happy that you're here. But you, like Clayton, are a man of many ideas. And for you, what has this journey been like for you as a creator of this, hand in hand with Clayton, to see this?
Thank you, Tracy. So if we speak about the show, I don't know if you want me to speak about my journey, how I ended up in Winnipeg, which we don't want to go there. But talking about the show, I think Clayton and I, we sit and we casually talk, but seriously engage in when we talk, and we come up with ideas. And some of the ideas, some people may sit and write books about and celebrate in a different way. But us, we kind of take it lightly. So just last night, we were talking about something, and then we're talking about something. If it comes into being, I think it's going to be big too, and big that in a way that can help others in many different ways. So we'll see. I think the show, I would not say this is the last show, but probably it's going to pause. And then we're going to it's going to take a different form, a different spin on things, and takes off. So it goes somewhere. So you plant the seed and it grows into a different being, right? So it's like, we don't know what type branches will go into and all of that. So we will wait and see. But I can assure you that there are more to come, and there are things going to happen hopefully soon. In terms of this show, I think that's how I thought about it. When Clayton and I we were talking about it, we were talking about creating it and make sure that it's actually working, functioning, and it has what it takes of energy to move on, and then let others lead it, take care of it. That's the idea. And actually it did. It worked out, and until now we're back. I'm back to talk about it. So it feels good when you see something that is tangibly useful, a practical avenue where people can come and share. I remember discussing what to name it. And we came up with different names, right? All with about heart, something healing. Then we're trying to get with, is it heart? Is it something? Is it something else? And then we came up with this healing heart. And the reason for it is because we really recognize the fact that all people, at least from my perspective, and now I'm practicing as a psychotherapist, I practice, so I see people, I see them in pain. And what makes their pain even bigger is when they intellectually speak about their pain, not emotionally speaking about their pain. And because intellectually they can try to justify as to why the pain happened and why the pain exists and how the pain should be listened to and all of that. And but it stays cognitive, intellectual. It doesn't come down. It stays here. It doesn't come down to the what we call heart and then heal it. And the way to heal the heart is actually by being authentic and speaking about things that you struggle with as an individual. But also, I see it, our society, our community, is struggle with many major issues, such as reconciliation and others. These are big pieces that need to be moved from place to place forward in a process that is authentic and collective. We can't, I don't see it happening in isolation or just individually done. It needs to be societal project where people all get engaged and push it forward with their hearts. So we thought this show kind of, if it's, as you mentioned, 100 people is following, those 100 people, to me, I think if they turn into ambassadors of change, that's good enough. That's how I see it. Those people, whoever, if they say one right sentence in a fair and authentic way, in somewhere like in somebody's living room or at a dinner table, that would make difference. And I think that's, to me, is success, and that's good. That makes me feel that I actually was part of something that is useful, practical, and so I'm excited. I don't think this is a beginning of something bigger, and it's going to happen. There are things going to happen. So I'll stop here and give others a chance to talk.
Oh, Annie, you always do that. I'll stop here. Well, if you have more, you've got to tell us. No, I know. Jeannie and I had this conversation. You just have to wait. Because Jeannie will have another announcement to make, right, Jeannie? But we have to wait on all those incredible murals that you're creating. And okay, so if we can kind of shift this conversation to the now, using our information, using our connections, and our gift for conversation.
Sad to say, and it's a sad fact that that's happening all around us from a long time ago. Like, just like here in Canada, with the things that they suffered, the Philippines also went through it, where, we were under, we were colonized for 500 years. And from the 500 years, there were, others that came and again colonized us time and again. And then we had our independence, and the martial law came in, and we're facing another election where, again, the people are just in upheaval because the contenders are representing, which way the country will go, and also the threat of losing what we fought for centuries. And that's true. I'm really saddened by what has happened to Ukraine because of Russia's invasion. And, I can talk about my personal reaction to it, because for people who love peace and, dream of peace all around the world, never thought it would happen in my lifetime to see, a war where you are even afraid that it can get worse, that it can spread globally. And it's a reality that we have to face because we're in this time and age. I find that I have to resort to a lot of prayers. Personally, that's what I can do to hopefully to contribute to having eventually a resolution to all this conflict. But then also the desire to be able to help out. But distant from where it's happening, what we can do is very limited. But regardless, it's important for us to be cognizant of the fact that anything can happen any place. That's why where we are, we have to treasure out the freedom that we have, and we make sure that it doesn't happen to us. And in the meantime, from a distance, we have to always be ready to help out in whatever way we can,
Yeah.
because innocent people are getting killed because of a few people who made the decision to do this. And it's, you know, I still hope and pray that there will be a resolution to this, that it doesn't end up to be as worse as people are afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And I also hope and pray that in my country, in the Philippines, that the people finally will make a choice that will be good for them. Because there's a lot of things going on. It's amazing. In other countries, there are also countries where they follow a different political system. And they're also just waiting for what's going on in Russia. When they start, coming out and start doing what Russia's doing, that's a scary scenario for the whole world. So let's all be, just be cognizant of everything that's going on in our own space. Let's try to do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start by being peaceful people, and then hopefully that spreads all throughout. Because we can't impose it on others. It has to start from us, from ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Wise words, because actually that was going to lead to my next question to Art and Jeannie. Looking in our own backyards, if you kind of look at your circle of friends or whatever, so many of them are Ukrainian, so many of them are Russian, that live here, that work here, that support. How do we, like Perla said, be cognizant, think peacefully, don't become bogged down with what you see and hear on social media and the news. Maybe words of wisdom, because Art, for you too, you've gone through that, right? Feeling that racism. How do we work on that in 2022?
Right. Well, no, that's it's so important. I think the whole world, the situation at the present time has, again, brought back some of those memories of what could happen in times of crisis to a community. And we're talking about just ordinary people. And I know that it was in our own community during the Second World War. Many of them who were Canadians, born in this country, were treated like enemies, mainly because of the way they looked and because Canada was at war with Japan. And so virtually anyone who was Japanese became the enemy of this country, where we had, where our association was with Canada. I mean, my parents were born in Canada, so was I. And yet it didn't matter. And part of it is because we were so visible. And then today I'm watching the news again with the situation in the Ukraine. And I know that there's a lot of sympathy from Canadians towards Ukrainians, Ukraine, and so on. But then I was thinking, on the other hand, I wonder if you were Russian, how would you feel in this country today when there's such hatred towards Putin and what Russia's doing? Because it's got to weigh on you as a Russian Canadian. And I know that there have been attacks on people because they were Russian. I guess part of their saving grace might be is that they don't look any different than other Canadians, so they may be hard to be picked out, except maybe by name and so on. But regardless, Russian community organizations are being targeted. with graffiti and so on. So there is that direct attack upon people of Russian background. And so that brings to the fore, you know, what can you do? As I said, we're fortunate we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because at the time when the Japanese were being interned, there was no such thing. And many people in my community were held for 4 years. They were never ever charged. They were put into camps and never ever charged. So that wouldn't happen today. And so there are some protections, but that doesn't give any comfort to a person who's of Russian background who's being attacked to know that. But I think, you know, we have to sympathize with our own people who come from different backgrounds, and we have to be supportive of them. And so if we see that happening, we need to point it out that these are Canadians. They're people who are part of this country. And even though their ancestral country is at war or doing something that we as Canadians don't like, doesn't give us the right to attack them. And so that's the important thing that we need to face. And I really sympathize with those people who are of Russian backgrounds who are here, and I'm sure feeling the brunt of it, and they likely don't know if how people that they might be fairly close to would treat them because of that type of thing. So
Well, and you,
anyways,
yeah.
I think mhm.
Well, no,
Go ahead, Tracy,
and no,
sorry.
I was just going to say, I agree with you, Art. We kind of see history repeating itself, its ugly
Yes.
head. Now, for Jeannie and Clayton, with all of this, and I wanted to raise this issue because it does address all of the topics and discussions throughout Healing Hearts, but more or less dealing with Indigenous and newcomer communities. Now it's, you know, definitely this community and that community. What is your takeaway, or more importantly, what are your thoughts now on the matters of the Indigenous community? Talking about truth and reconciliation, what Hani had mentioned, and Jeannie, for you, the murdered and missing Indigenous women and children, that is still a huge issue. Clayton first. I don't see Jeannie right away, so she might have stepped away, but Clayton, your thoughts.
Well, I guess I have all kinds of different mixed thoughts, but I wanted just to say something. Just when Art was talking about, and you know, I like hockey, so I watch hockey quite a bit on TV, and I remember about 2-3 years ago, my grandson, he said his favorite player was Ovechkin, and from the Capitals, and he wanted to go and see him. So I got tickets and took him to go and watch the Jets play with the Capitals, and of course Ovechkin was his favorite player. So nowadays, when Ovechkin gets on the ice, they boo him now, and they're chastising him as a Russian, and his comment was that, you know, I'm a hockey player, I'm a sports person, I'm not a political person, he said. And he said, I can't change that, he says. And then you look at the different sports people, you know, around the world that are getting labeled and stuff, you know, and losing contracts and tournaments and stuff like that. So people don't realize how widespread this goes, you know, to just a common person, you know. And and then Art's right, you know, people that are non-native people, they just fit in, and people can't tell. I remember when I worked in government, and people would always say, well, how come you always say you feel racism when you go into a room? And I said, well, I go into a room with, you know, there's 100 of us in there, and there's 99 white guys, and they're all different nationalities, but nobody knows that. You know, but they look at me because I'm brown and I'm different. And, you know, there's a Scottish guy there, a German guy there, or, you know, whoever, but they don't know that. And they treat each other equal, but they treat me differently. So those are the kind of things that kind of, you know, have been weighing on my mind and about what's going on. But, you know, things like what bothered me the most, I guess, is what's happening with the children and the women and the hospitals and that kind of thing bothers me right now. And I asked the St. Barnabas Hospital, you know, to make a statement, to say something about what the hospital's going to do for the refugees that are going to come to this country. So I'm pushing them right now, and I just got on their board. So I've been pushing them to make a statement, like do something, and say something that the hospital can offer, or do something. So that's one of the things I'm kind of pushing also to, just to do something. Yeah. But today's issues we have, and one thing I think I really learned just in the past maybe 6 months, that there's silent wars going on all around the world, and people don't know about that. And I've learned that from my newcomer friends, that there's wars that have been going on for a long time, and the bombing and that is going on exactly the same thing as in Russia, but nobody says nothing about it. And yesterday I was talking to a person of color at our event, and she was saying, yeah, just imagine, she said, in Ukraine, the buses and the trains are leaving, but they're not letting the dark people on. It's only the white people that are being allowed to get on the buses or the trains. Yeah, so those kind of, so it's amazing how yeah. An elder said one time, just imagine if we're all born colorblind, what the world would be like. Yeah. So that's sort of that's on my mind about what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, wow, Jeannie. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is, and then and everybody has raised some really important uh, feelings. That we're all having variations of everything that we've shared so far. For myself, like Art said, about the Russians and who are living here in Canada. I had a situation where, I asked a friend and she divulged, she said, and she said it under her breath that she was Russian. I was just like, and I had to reach out to her and just connect with her, just the physical connection. And she was saying about how she won't say that. She won't express that, but she felt that's safe to do it in with me. And I just thought I felt compassion and empathy, and just being able to hold space with her. And then we're thinking about what's in store, what's on the horizon. What's on the horizon is we'll have a lot of new people who are coming in, and we have to have. I want that ability to expand on what I need to do to embrace and to learn and to just be here. And because I'm really blessed with so many things in my life, and one of those things, I have shelter, I have food, I have everything, and people are going to be coming in who just have nothing. And so I just want to be able to prepare myself, to do whatever I can.
Oh, well, hey, okay, Hani, you are the counselor, and I was thinking the same thing too, Jeannie, is that you feel almost awkward because here you are living in riches, really. We are, and a privilege. But yes, we want the doors open and welcome to all of these new immigrants. Honey, how best, because we always say education, we need to educate. I've got 5, 6 great leaders here that can educate. How do we do it on like a organic or grassroots level so we can gain that momentum and educate everybody?
So we're speaking about educating people to accept others who
Yes,
come in?
yes.
I think so. Developing sense of responsibility is really a good thing to do, which nowadays is kind of a rare commodity. For many people talk about privilege and rights and freedom and all that, but they forget sense of responsibility needs to be part of their thinking. And in order for you to see authentic change, and I'm not just talking about receiving newcomers or people around you to be accepted or not accepted, I'm talking about just you conducting your own life in a society that not necessarily designed just for yourself. The society is supposed to be a society that consists of many different groups of people and different individuals, like any other parts of any society in the world. The diversity in the world, it's always there. However, some of it is ancient and long and situated in places where it's difficult and challenged all the time. And sometimes, if it's not well managed, create conflict because people don't know how to manage those diversity. They take it into a form of competition and form of preference. Myself and my group is better than yours, and so on and so forth. And therefore, I fence myself off and reject anyone in. So I don't allow anyone to get in my fenced off area of privilege. And so, but if I have that sense of responsibility, the walls will start coming down. How do you get there? It's not always education. Trust me, education is only takes you so much. You will be aware of what's going on, and then what? The question is that sense of responsibility needs to be triggered. And you cannot have sense of responsibility get triggered if you don't develop fair and objective and unbiased sympathy and empathy together towards people who not necessarily resemble you or share the same cultural practices or racial and ethnic backgrounds. That's the biggest challenge that humanity is facing always, because that the absence of that would lead to what? Conflict, lead to what? To lead to disagreements. And that's why it keeps going. And I don't think this is, I'm going to stop it, or anyone else here can stop it. This is going to keep going. The only thing is on individual level, people who are aware of that, they need to kind of do something about it. And then once you obtain it, you obtain some of it, you would enjoy that kind of exclusive way of thinking about the world, that the world is actually designed to include others, not only you and those who share the same privilege as you. That sense of responsibility. So education only takes you from not knowing to knowing. Then what? What are you going to do with that? Lots of people know what's going on, but did they do something about it? That's another thing.
And that requires action. Clayton, your thoughts?
Well, that's yeah. I wish I could say it the way Hanny said it. Yeah. Hanny's the counselor. You're supposed to make us feel better, Hanny, not worse.
I know. Okay, well, yeah, as we all hang our heads. Okay.
Clayton, when the subject is politics, that's why I tried to stay away from it. That's why I don't talk about it. Because politics is, the subject politics is, you're stuck at known. You're not doing much about it. When you tell me speak about it as a psychotherapist or whatever you want to call me, then I'll tell you book an appointment.
I want a discount then. Yeah. But I think that again, that just what Hanny's talking about, and I've experienced that all my life as an Indigenous person. When non-Native people try to help me, like they don't really know, and they don't know what the feelings are around what I'm feeling, and when I first started working in government, I had colleagues saying that, well, I know how you're feeling and stuff like that. Well, how would you know how I'm feeling? You're not an Indian, or you're not black, or you're not brown, or whatever. How would you know what I'm feeling? And they wouldn't know how to respond. So again, that's so until people actually, walk in your shoes and know your journey, and that's why I think Healing Hearts and some of the stuff that I'm doing with newcomers, it comes a lot easier. Because I'm not trying to re-educate people and to, reprogram them, because we've all been there and we all know the feelings, and our ancestors know those feelings, and I think it's in our DNA that we know that, and then it's in our children's DNA, our grandchildren's DNA, that we know those feelings. So again, that's the piece I think that people are missing, that they just don't know. They don't know because they've never experienced it.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on just to support that, Clayton, because very often when we used to have these workshops on racism, anti-racism, usually the biggest recommendation that comes back is you have to educate our kids, and that the education system should be doing that. But on the other hand, when you think of it, most teachers who have not experienced racism, how can they begin to teach what it feels like when you don't have, you haven't walked in their shoes?
Sure.
And so this is the biggest dilemma that we have when we leave these workshops with these recommendations. Let the education system be the one to fix it, but it's never going to happen unless we have people who, as Hanny said, take the responsibility to know about that situation and to be able to project it in a sincere way. And so it is a dilemma in some ways when we put the onus on the education system to be the solver of all problems.
Perla.
So it all goes back to, the faculty of education, because they're the one teaching the teachers, and, the educational system with the teachers actually teaching our children. And it's true, it has moved a little bit towards, for instance, hiring teachers coming from other countries, but it's not enough yet. It's not. There's more to be done, and it's true. The challenge will keep on. It will be around us for a long, long time because it's slow moving. But to start with, let's just work with ourselves and then people close to us, and hopefully it will have ripple effects. And it's true because even with a good act, you can still see racism in action. And Clayton did mention about the situation where, here comes the refugees, they're accepted, but then again, there's still discrimination going on with people of color coming from Ukraine, crossing the border, and stuff like that. And it's really, it's worrisome when you think about it because they're not looking at people, in an equal way. They always see color. So even if you're doing good, still that mindset comes into play. And until, we make all people aware of it and take that responsibility of making sure that in action, they will also make, translate into action. Yes, it's a slow process, but we'll keep on doing it. Racism is a hard, thing to fight. It's always there.
It's always
It'll always be there. And for us who are knowledgeable about it and wanting to do something about it, we have to be patiently moving on and keep on doing it. Because that's the only way. You can't give up.
No. Jeannie, do you want to just close everything here with your thoughts?
Sure. One thing that I'm thinking about is, how we speak and how we nurture our own home fires. What we do, what we say, what we role model with our children. And not only what we say to them, but how we are when we're not talking directly to them, because they're listening in the background, and they're listening to how we speak to other people. They're listening to how we allow other people to speak to us, because in turn, they will follow those patterns. They see our patterns, they hear it. And so it's important to monitor ourselves as we are in our homes, because they're the ones who are also going to be the agents of change. They're the ones who are going to carry the torches and make differences that we will not be able to do in our lifetime.
Wow.
Tracy, if I may say
Yes.
something towards
Yes.
the end, because not because I want to make Clayton feel better after what I said, but it's just actually comes from my heart, and I have to, as a way to appreciate it, is personally being a newcomer. Also, I always remind myself that the society that I live in gave me lots of space for growth, and through that growth, I think we can do lots with it. So that it's really good to I have this very simple technique that I use in my work, and that is recognition, acceptance, adjustment. So recognition is you recognize the good and the bad and the difficult and the easy, and then you accept the new reality based on that, and then you adjust accordingly so you can actually do something with it. And when I apply that to myself and I say, okay, so if there is growth, if there is movement to the better, that means the society actually accommodate and allow these changes to happen and supported my, of course, ambition and all of that. And that needs to be kind of appreciated. And I personally appreciate it. The only thing is, the one thing that though it needs to be highlighted in this equation, and that is there are people who are not able to access that growth space yet. And that's where the sense of responsibility comes, so we can help each other to allow the other people who can actually access that space and grow on their own with our support, not holding them from the hand, but supporting their cause for growth, for to the betterment of to become better individuals in our society. So I feel like I'm very hopeful when I think and reflect on that. It gives me hope that we can tackle the biggest challenges. And if there's a word, I know this is towards the end of the show, when we say anti-racism and racism and all of that, also that takes us to a mindset that not necessarily positive. It doesn't allow us to move to that growth space. So that brings us back to the heart and healing heart and talking from the heart, because that's what connects us all together. And I think that's where we stay away from that intellectual, trying to cognitively reason everything and finding answers for everything, and goes back to that education piece, knowing and not knowing. I'll leave it at that, and thank you very much for this opportunity, and we will continue, but probably in different form.
Yeah, I feel better
Okay.
now, Henny. Yeah,
Do you still?
Do you?
You didn't feel better?
I feel better now.
Book an appointment, I can see.
He's got a smile on his face.
I said done, accomplished.
Well, Hani, you did a beautiful closing and made it all come full circle to what Healing Hearts was started and what Healing Hearts is all about. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Not only tonight, but for your contributions on the show. It has meant so much to so many. And to Clayton and Hani, big round of applause. Thank you, thank you. It has been a great journey. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and also a special thank you to Immigration Partnership Winnipeg. They were also a great partner in this show and have provided multiple guests too as well. So thank you to Kate and Ruben and all of the people over there for your show of support. Once again, this is Healing Hearts. I'm Tracy Koga, and we will see you sometime soon.
Super.